From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
Now at 7, another reminder from the governor to mask up to help the state get a handle on COVID-19 cases. Thank you for joining us. I'm Amanda Starrentino. Governor Holcomb says despite increasing rates of positivity, the state will remain in stage 5 of the Back on Track plan, but the statewide mask mandate has been extended for another month. Meanwhile, the governor and other state leaders are waiting on results of their own COVID tests after State Health Commissioner Christina Bach says she tested positive along with her daughter and her young grandson. This afternoon, the governor explained the decision to not revert to an earlier reopening stage despite rising cases.
The pain that will come from assuming that if we just restrict down or shut down and it'll have no adverse impacts, it's our behavior, it is our actions that need to be addressed, and they have to be addressed together.
Today, the State Department of Health is reporting 1,172 new positive COVID-19 cases, and 14 more people have died with COVID-19. Between October 1st and October 7th, 5.3% of COVID-19 tests came back positive. Local experts say looking at the ages of those testing positive with COVID-19 can help predict where new hot spots may be popping up around the state. WRTV's Megan Sanctorum explains.
As positive COVID cases across the state continue to climb, researchers and health leaders are taking a close look at the age of those testing positive. The CDC now reporting that a spike in cases among young people could be a good predictor that an area will become a hot spot.
These spikes, there's nothing magical about this. I could predict this, in my sleep, if you will.
Experts at IUPUI's Fairbanks School of Public Health have been working with the state to collect data and analyze the spread of COVID.
One of the most interesting things we found from our own sample was that 40% of the people that were infected had no signs or symptoms whatsoever. And I think this is what CDC is also seeing now. It may be at even a higher number.
Those asymptomatic, often young, and otherwise healthy.
When we get people together, less than 6 feet apart, not wearing face masks, and spending prolonged periods of time together, we're going to see cases. This is still an active pandemic.
So we asked young people here locally what they've been seeing.
IUPUI campus, they really taking care of the students and regularly testing them every single week. I feel like it's more people that's older in age who honestly is not really listening to the CDC guidelines and stuff like that and not really staying communicated with their environment and local authorities.
I think young people particularly take it a little more less seriously since their immune systems are stronger and doesn't necessarily pertain or harm to them as much versus I say older people, or even if you're a young person with an older person in your household, then they may take it more seriously.
But experts say regardless of your age, everyone still needs to take this seriously.
We're not out of the woods yet. Right, that this is still an active pandemic.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
Hotspot counties are defined as those that had more than 100 cases in the previous 7 days and had experienced increases in cases in the preceding 3 to 7 days. And more than 215,000 Americans have died since the pandemic began, according to Johns Hopkins University. At least 35 states are battling a surge in cases, with a 14.4% increase this past week compared to the week before. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says small household gatherings are helping drive the increase. CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield said during a call with the nation's governors Tuesday, he's particularly concerned with Thanksgiving coming up. Some health leaders are urging people to consider having an outdoor Thanksgiving lunch or dinner. Checking in now with Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory with a look at our forecast, and that is a beautiful sunset, Kevin.
There's so many beautiful sunsets we've had during this stretch of days. It's now like 57 without much in the way of rain, Amanda. This happens to be out in Putnam County. It's our go-to camera at this hour because setting sun perfectly within our 7 o'clock news, but that won't last long, and it sets officially at 7:06. Temperatures down just slightly in the last hour with a lower sun angle, and the high thin clouds coming in mid-70s in Indy. It's 82 still in St. Louis, but guess what? The warm air isn't sticking around. The cooler temperatures will come in from the northwest during the day tomorrow. It stays windy this evening. We'll still see wind gusts over 30 miles per hour into the overnight hours. When we wake up tomorrow, a west-northwest wind will start to drop the temperature. When you wake up in the morning, temperatures will be around 60. You see the slow fall overnight. That's very mild. Then we'll have some rain showers around as we transition to cooler temperatures tomorrow. You'll need a jacket in the morning, take an umbrella maybe, but as you can see, most of the forecast models not predicting a lot of rain. We'll talk about what changes as we go beyond Friday and into the weekend coming up.
Tomorrow night, President Trump and Joe Biden are participating in competing town halls after the second presidential debate was canceled. Here on ABC, you can watch Biden's town hall at 8 p.m. Thursday. The president's event will take place at the same time on NBC. President Trump objected to the virtual format announced by the Commission on Presidential Debates after his positive coronavirus diagnosis. WRTV's Rafael Sanchez checked in with our political insiders who had plenty to say about the canceled debate and the ongoing hearings for Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett.
It is time for our political insiders. The issue on the table right now, Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett in hearings. It seems to be like a done deal. Why bother with all of these hearings?
This time people are already voting and they're giving this woman a hearing. It's outrageous.
There certainly should be hearings, whether it's a done deal or not. Frankly, I think the American people are going to make their voice heard on this one.
She's a brilliant jurist, a brilliant legal mind. She's well qualified. She deserves the hearing. She deserves to be on the court.
It's reminding us all of why we all hate Washington and why Americans hate Washington. I don't think it really brings out the best in our government and in our elected officials.
No second debate between Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden. Does it matter, and who does it benefit?
I think there may not be a lot of appetite for the type of debate that Donald Trump wants. And so by picking up his toys and going home, I think it makes him look really petty and very small.
He's losing this election. And so you don't give up 90 minutes of free airtime on every major network when you're down in the polls.
This is inures to the benefit of Joe Biden. He's got a lead. Donald Trump can't break through unless he figures out a way to break through, and this is his chance in a debate.
But the fact that we can't have leaders that can have a discussion without the use of a mute button, like it's a Real Housewives show, is clearly a loss for us.
Our political insiders, our Democracy 2020 coverage continues right now on WRTV.
And Rafael's full exchange with the insiders, which also includes a discussion on violence and the mask mandate, is posted right now on WRTV.com. Work is underway to expand a community garden that will eventually provide fresh food for the Hillside neighborhood on the north side of Indianapolis. The American Heart Association and companies from the construction industry are improving the garden to include fresh produce in an area that has been designated a food desert. Raised garden beds will be built at an indoor facility before being moved to the garden in time for planting in the spring. Still ahead on the news at 7, plexiglass barriers in stores and workplaces may be providing a false sense of security. Experts weigh in on what you can do to make sure you're still protected from COVID-19. But first, long lines and legal challenges are raising concerns about voter suppression across the country. The latest deadline you need to know if you're voting by mail here in Indiana. Early voting continues across central Indiana. In Marion County alone, hundreds more people have been voting each day compared to the 2016 general election, and that does not include voters who have already returned their absentee ballots. Long early voting lines across the country are raising questions about possible voter suppression. ABC's Marcia Gonzalez is following the latest from Los Angeles.
In city after city, lines snaking around buildings, voters eager to cast their ballots early, waiting as long as 9 hours in Georgia and Texas.
I'm willing to wait as long as it takes, and anything worth a reward is worth waiting for.
More than 11 million voters have already cast their ballots early, about 10% of the total turnout of the 2016 presidential election. Officials denying claims that scenes like this are a sign of voter suppression.
Some precincts are more favored by voters, and they just have longer lines. So everyone will have the opportunity to vote. We're just expecting record turnout.
Some voters hoping to avoid the long waits and concerned about in-person voting during this pandemic, facing different challenges. A federal court agreeing with the governor of Texas's decision to allow only one drop-off box for mail-in votes per county. A federal appeals court making a similar decision for drop boxes in Ohio.
The right to vote is critically important. It shouldn't be more difficult, especially during a pandemic.
And in California, confusion after the Republican Party set up more than 50 unofficial ballot drop boxes across the state and are refusing to follow orders to take them down.
Here's the big concern. This is what the ballot looks like when it goes back in. And on the back side of this is the name of the person who is delivering that ballot, who the voter is. It's very easy for them to be able to see whether it is a Democrat or a Republican.
The state GOP says they are within the law and actually plan to add more ballot drop boxes. And across the country, with so many different voting rules and deadlines, voters can go to vote.org to learn how to make sure their ballot counts. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
If you're voting by mail in Indiana, a court has upheld the original deadline for your ballot. It needs to be back at your county's election office by noon on Election Day, November 3rd. The Postal Service says you should give your ballot a week if you are returning it by mail. You can find more information about deadlines and the candidates up for election right now at WRTV.com/election2020. Kevin.
And something unusual shows up in the just beyond the 7-day forecast. We'll let you know what is unusual coming up.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
You've seen them in stores, on the vice presidential debate stage, maybe even at your place of work. Plexiglas dividers used as a layer of protection against the coronavirus. But are these plastic shields effective? Meredith Wood explains in today's Health Minute.
Early in the pandemic, when businesses started to reopen, many installed plexiglass barriers in order to reduce the exposure to hazards like COVID-19. But it turns out those physical barriers may not be as effective as we hoped.
While very seductive and convenient, they offer a false sense of security. Of course, there are practical concerns in terms of the positioning of the plexiglass partition, how high it is, how wide it is, how often it's cleaned.
Dr. Wafa Al-Sadr, a professor of epidemiology at Columbia University, says that's the same issue with plastic face shields. She says though they are more convenient and easier to wear, they are not a replacement for physical distancing and face masks.
We know that, of course, the virus itself can be in much smaller particles and can go around the plexiglass.
Also, plexiglass hasn't been scientifically proven to shield the aerosol droplets that spread from sneezing, coughing, and talking. But no need to throw those plastic barriers away. Instead, they are best used in addition to face coverings and physical distancing of at least 6 feet. For today's Health Minute, I'm Meredith Wood.
If you're counting, the numbers are getting pretty large. 57 days now without a 1/10 of an inch of rain or more. During the stretch, you have to go back to August 18th for our last, quote, big rain. So what's unusual in the forecast? Finally, a forecast that at least brings about the possibility of above average precipitation. Now, this is a forecast, it's not reality yet, but at least it gives us hope that the pattern may be changing and we get more opportunities for rain. We've hardly had cloud cover, so no clouds, no rain. It's still 80 in Sullivan, 78 in Terre Haute. Otherwise, temperatures low to mid 80s across central Indiana. Temperatures will stay propped up by a strong south wind that will continue through the early overnight hours. Don't be fooled tomorrow. When you wake up in the morning, temperatures will be at their warmest. They'll fall from there through the day. Showers around 10 a.m. to about 2 p.m. as they cut across central Indiana. And then the cooler air just settles in for a couple more days on Friday and Saturday. They'll be dry days. That's how temperatures will fall tomorrow. The cold front arrives. The wind changes direction. Temperature falls with some showers mixed in. Temperatures will slowly recover a little bit as we get to the afternoon hours tomorrow. Let's talk a little more specifically. Some light showers at the beginning may pick up in intensity a little bit. Terre Haute to Indy, on up toward Muncie, Marion, and Fort Wayne. That as we get to mid-morning, early afternoon, starting to shift to the south and east of Indy and pretty much pulling away by the time we get to 4 o'clock. There's your rainfall potential. It shows 0.14 of an inch. We'll take anything we can get. The wind tomorrow, still strong, but not nearly as strong as what we have now. These are the gusts out of the west-northwest, around 20 miles per hour. Friday, temperatures start in the low to mid-30s. Frosty start in spots depending on the wind. Temperature at 58. Afternoon highs just shy of 60. A dry, relatively cool night for Friday night football, and then temperatures in the lower to middle 30s again Saturday morning. But those two mornings, Friday and Saturday, are the coldest. You can see overnight lows moderate back to almost 50 by middle of next week, and our highs back to around 69 as well. Amanda?
Kevin, thank you. The impact of the pandemic appears to have reached the North Pole. For the holiday season this year, Santa may be stuck behind a computer screen. Malls across the country are planning pandemic-proof visits. Usher Qureshi shows us how he might not be able to see each child in person.
Mall Santa Steve Miller has been putting on the red suit full-time for 4 years.
I prefer the mall because I do it for the kids.
But this year, there won't be any hugs or sitting on Santa's knee.
Now, because of the virus, it's going to take a little fun out of it, but it's going to be much more safe, which is the #1 thing that we want.
Appearances by St. Nick at malls, corporate events, and private appearances is a holiday tradition that's already being impacted by the pandemic.
We've been working with a lot of retailers as well as malls to how can we still have the experience of Santa but keep everybody safe.
According to entertainment staffing firm HireSanta.com, bookings were down 95% due to coronavirus concerns. But after advertising their safety efforts, demand is up 20% compared to this time last year.
The Santa Claus entertainers, as you can imagine, they're at a high-risk group. So we want to make sure that Santa safety is our #1 priority.
Hire Santa developed a Plexiglas Santa shield that creates a physical barrier to allow for photos with Santa.
We at HireSanta.com are also working on virtual Santa visits, where you can literally visit with Santa within the confines of your own home.
Brookfield Properties, the second largest operator of U.S. malls, says it will host Santa in 134 of its 150-plus malls with touchless experiences. Santa's Village, a popular Illinois amusement park temporarily shut down by the pandemic, is taking Santa on the road.
For over 60 years, boys and girls have come to the house here in the park to visit me, but now we're going to take my house to your house.
Their mobile Santa home has a separate entrance and exit to maintain social distancing, and a working fireplace will keep visitors warm. Plenty of masks and Santa-tizer will be on hand as well.
It's great because we can actually bring, again, that magic from the park to people's individual homes and local communities. That way people can actually have a personalized visit with Santa.
Whether behind plexiglass or inside a traveling One North Pole, changes are afoot to ensure that Santa Claus is still coming to town. Reporting from Chicago, I'm Usher Qureshi.
Independent booksellers want to fight back over the biggest threat to their business. The American Booksellers Association launched their Boxed Out campaign to bring attention to local bookstores. Many stores started the campaign with boxes in their windows that looked a lot like Amazon delivery boxes. The Boxed Out campaign coincides with Amazon's Prime Day. The American Booksellers Association says its membership levels have dropped by thousands in recent years. It estimates 20% could go out of business due to the pandemic. Kevin.
A warm and windy evening, beautiful as well. You can see just a few clouds on the horizon. Clouds leading to the chance for showers tomorrow and falling temperatures that we expect. Dress for the low to mid 50s for tomorrow.
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Our next newscast is tonight at 11. We'll see you then.